Hello and welcome to Conscious TV. I'm Iain McNay and today our guest is Dr. B. Alan Wallace. Hello Alan. And Alan is a lecturer and a writer in Buddhist studies, and he's visiting Oxford in England, and we're actually here about half an hour's drive from Oxford in a beautiful countryside in a studio. So Alan, I want to start with your early childhood, because you were actually quite clear around 13 years old. You wanted to study science. Mm-hmm. And so what were the factors there that attracted you to science at that time?
Well, at the age of 13, I had a wonderful science teacher. And as is so often the case, if you have a very inspiring teacher who's enthusiastic about a topic, that enthusiasm can often be transmitted over to the students. And in this case, it was a woman teacher by the name of Sally Vogel. And she was focused primarily on biology, but with a great love of nature and very strong emphasis on conservation. And so she instilled in me, and I think quite a number of her students, just a love of nature and a sense that the natural world was something to be cherished and preserved, and the only way we can do that is by understanding it. And so from that age on, I really, for quite a few years thereafter, I was very much focused on a career in wildlife biology, ecology, and both as a scientist but also as an activist, because this is our natural world, to preserve it for our own generation, but for all generations to come. So that was something that made utter sense to me, that I could totally believe in, and so it hooked me from the age of 13. And
also your household was quite strong on religion, wasn't it?
Yes, my father is a Protestant theologian, and he was also an ordained minister. So almost every Sunday he was a visiting pastor or minister in churches around the Los Angeles area where I was raised in part. And so religion was a very prominent feature of our family. Going to church every Sunday was simply an unquestioned reality of our family. And so I had these two themes running through my youth from the age of 13 right through the rest of my teens, is on the one hand having very strong religious influence in my way of viewing reality, a sense of values and so forth, but again from the age of 13 being very single-pointedly focused on pursuing a career in science.
So you went to university and you were studying ecology in university, but you changed, didn't you, after a couple of years? Something else was drawing you more stronger.
Well, this was during the late 60s, and so you remember that era quite clearly, a time of, especially in the United States, a time of a lot of turmoil. The Vietnam War was going on and so forth. But there was something really in the air, a zeitgeist, so to speak, and I really picked up that stirred me. In my case, it was really a spiritual movement, a spiritual impetus. And it was driven by a profound sense of dissatisfaction with both the science that was available at that time and the mode of Christianity to which I'd been exposed. And that is, frankly, I simply couldn't make sense of or embrace as my worldview the type of Christian worldview that I'd been brought up in. It frankly didn't make any sense to me. And I won't elaborate on that, but that's it. It just didn't make sense. That couldn't be my worldview. On the one hand. At the same time, I did have a sense then, and I'm speaking of my late teens up to the age of 20 or so, I did have then a sense that I still continue to have, that there are very, very deep truths in the life and the teachings of Jesus. I couldn't simply throw them all lock, stock, and barrel out as if he was some delusional person that was just made up fairy tales. I thought that also doesn't make any sense. And so, see something of an ambivalence about this tradition, but a profound and quite thoroughgoing sense of dissatisfaction with the mode of Christianity that I had been exposed to in kind of very mainstream Protestant Christianity. It didn't make any sense to me, and it was not satisfying, on the one hand. On the other hand, while science provides us with an enormous body of facts, and many of them very valuable facts, what it was never designed to do, and what it fails to do, since it wasn't designed to do it in the first place, is provide us with any meaning. And so for myself, especially very poignantly from my late teens and then really hitting a crescendo at the age of 20, I really found myself in a very passionate pursuit of meaning. And I felt this must have something to do with religion, but not just embracing lock, stock, and barrel what I'd been exposed to. At the same time, I couldn't jettison science. There's so much knowledge.
There's a real dilemma here, wasn't there?
There's a real dilemma here. And something that I found especially unsatisfying was being raised in a cultured family. I had a very good education. I'd lived for years already by the age of 20. Lived for years in Scotland, in Switzerland, in Israel. So I was really raised in a transatlantic fashion. So I was not living in some little parochial village in the Midwest, something like that. What really I found very unsatisfying was at that time I found virtually no meaningful dialogue between religion and science, religion and spirituality. So what I felt was that I was being raised with no criticism of my parents. I felt I was being raised in a schizophrenic type of environment. Because on the one hand, I was being presented with a whole worldview, which is Judeo-Christian, with its own implicit values and then its way of life that comes out of that. And so here's a whole package, and it's based on the Bible. On the other hand, going to secular schools the whole time, here's another whole worldview, the scientific worldview, with its values and its implicit way of life, and the two are radically disparate on many very important points, incompatible, and nobody's talking about it. So I thought that's really unsatisfying. This is like it's as if being raised in a family where dad says one thing, mom says the other, and they're completely incompatible, and they don't talk.
And how did you feel with this?
Profoundly unsatisfied. I mean, really...
And quite alone, I would have thought, in one way.
Very alone. I had nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
Because my father just didn't see what the problem was. And so I, as an undergraduate at the University of California, at the San Diego branch, from the age of 19 through 20, 18 through 20, I took a wide array of courses. This is a very live option in the American university system. You're not channeled into just one topic or one discipline early on. So I always took a wide variety of courses, but preparing for a full reading biology, as you would say here, and then also reading philosophy. I was interested in those two topics. I was looking for something that really made sense, that would provide some meaning. And so I took a wide variety of courses and pretty much searched in vain. But among the courses that I took a one-year course, so that would be 3 academic terms, on the history and the culture of India. I just was interested somehow in India. I don't know quite why I was, but I was. And one of the 3 terms, it was a 10-week term, was focused on the religions of India. It was taught by, I think our professor was a sociologist, so he had a very hands-off type of approach. This is what those people believed a long time ago, and Buddhism is essentially a pessimistic religion, so we were taught. And so there was really nothing very enticing about the material in the way it was presented. But despite the very academic, very dry and sterile way in which the religions of India had been presented in this class, I had a sense that there was something there that was much deeper than was being presented in the class. So it piqued my interest. So that had, in a way, had sown some seeds. And so at the age of 20, my dissatisfaction was really hitting a crescendo, let's say. And I just couldn't take it anymore. The Vietnam War and just many factors, social factors, personal factors. But there was no point of real distress. That is, I had a lovely relationship with a girlfriend. I had a brand new car. I was doing well in the university. So from the outside, you say, but this kid's got it made. You know, this fellow, he wants a career in ecology. This is success tracks all the way. And a lovely girlfriend, a wonderful person, and a brand new car. What more do you want, you know? But for me at that age, this wasn't going to cut it. I could just already see, I could imagine my life 20, 30, 40 years ahead and say, this is not going to do it for me. And so I'm willing to chuck this all out. I'm willing to release all of this. I have to find something else. And this society here isn't doing it for me. Because these are the 2 large options. You can either go the straight secular route and believe that science has all the answers, or it will, but that's the track to follow. Or you can follow religion, or you can follow some kind of an uneasy alliance between the two, what one biologist called non-overlapping magisteria. That, well, after all, religion deals with values and metaphysical issues and issues of meaning, where science deals with the cold facts. And you just keep them separate, everything is just fine. Well, I think your word is bollocks.
A very British word. Yeah.
It's a good, but I think it really fits, because it really doesn't make any sense. If you're saying, all right, all that I believe about the nature of reality is coming from science, because that's delivering the facts, as soon as you have a worldview that makes a number of affirmative statements about who are you, your mind, your personal identity, your body, the environment, you're making a whole bunch of factual statements.